go through these here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna understand control flow. So control flow basically is the what actually where the computer flows to, what's gonna be run as code. So you may have it where you want certain code to run, but then not certain code to run given certain conditions or circumstances. So for example, if you say like you have some variable 6, right? X is 6 in this case. If x is less than 7, print not allowed to go on right? And what this does is there's a few things that are key when we're writing control flow. So what's gonna happen is that you're gonna have this variable. It's gonna be saved to the value of 6, and then it's gonna do this if statement. Now, what does this if statement do? It checks to see if this is true or false. It could only be true or false. That this value is less than 7, or it's not less than 7. Now, if it's less than 7, then it's true, and in this case it's true. It means that the indented code will run. This is the indented code after the semicolon. So you have this space here, that's the indentation. Indentation matters, okay? So everything that's indented will run. So if I said print, this will also run. This will also run, okay? All of that will run, but the code that's indented back at the same level of the original if statement is not part of the statement, the conditional, it's not part of the code that will run if the condition is true. Okay, if the condition is false, none of the indented code will run. So for example, in this case, I have it where the condition is true, right? X is 6, 6 is less than 7. All of this indented code will run. However, I can make it so that way it's 9, and I could say this, and I will run, and nothing prints, because all of this code got skipped over, and then I can put a statement that will say, this will always run. Why does this print statement always run? Well, because it's indented back. So it has nothing to do with whether this condition is true or false. That this will always run will run regardless of whether the if statement, because it's not in part of the indented code. This indented code only runs if this statement is true. Okay, now that's one way we can talk about control flow with the if statement. If the condition is true, run this code. Simple as that. Now, there's other ways. There's loops. And loops are super important because it's really like where we utilize the idea of computers with the loops, because it can loop over this code very quickly. So we take advantage of the fact that computers do that very quickly. And what we do is we say while I is less than a certain value, let's say 10, okay, certain code will run. And in this case, I want to set this up so that way I have, so I could illustrate an idea very, very clearly. Okay, so I'm going to explain what I did here, and I'm going to also go like this. I'm going to say S is equal to, or better yet, I'll make it even an array. Okay, and I'll make it so it's clear for okay. Now, what does this all do? This here. Okay, let's understand how while loops work and how they control the flow of a program, right? So a while loop just evaluates this here. And it says, is this true? If this is true, again, the indented code will run. Once it realizes that it has to indent back, okay, so loop ended. Right? So the loop ended here because it's indented back at the same level of the while loop. So this indented code is part of the loop. This is what's going to be looped over and over again, just like the word, right? Loop. You loop back around. You loop back around. And you keep running this indented code provided the condition is true. Let's look at this condition now. So in this case, we have it where the condition is that I is less than 4. So I gave this variable I the value 0 to start. So is 0 less than 4? Yes. So this indented code will run. And what is i's value right now? It's 0. So it's going to print s bracket 0. This code right here, this I plus equals 1, increases I by 1, goes back up. 1 is 1 less than 4. Yes. So and it runs it again. And then it keeps going back until the condition is false, when I becomes 4. Once I is 4, right, 4 is not less than 4, the loop breaks. Again, control flow. Okay, it breaks out of the loop. You're controlling the flow of where code is executed versus not. And the last thing and then it just jumps. It jumps over all the indented code and it prints this last thing, loop ended. And you see, it does exactly what I wanted it to do, because look, what happens in this code, what happens in this program altogether. The variable x is given a value of 9. This if statement sees if it's true. 9 is not less than 7, so it skips over all the indented code. It does this. It runs this line of code, which is that this will always run. So it printed that to start. Then it gives the variable s this array of integers. Then it saves 0 into this variable I. And then it starts this loop. And what does this loop do? It starts off with indexing every element in this array. It starts off with I being 0. So then it prints the 5. Then it prints the 3. Then it prints the 4. Then it prints the 21. Then it prints the 56. And actually, since I only goes up to 4, right, this is the third value. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, right? I is 3 here. Then I becomes 4, and then it goes back up. 4 is not less than 4. The loop ends, and it prints loop ended. Okay, this is the idea behind control flow.